Namaskaram, Manjunath sir.
Namaste, Vinu.
Sir, how are you, sir?
All well, Vinu. So nice to be, spending some quality
Oh,
time with you all today, and
okay.
nice to see your face after a long time.
Yes, sir. Actually, I would like to thank Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth for offering me such a great opportunity to interact with my guru in their platform.
It's my pleasure also spending time, participating in this wonderful series called Kala Samvad. As we all know, Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth has been one of the premier institutions in the country, and then which is bent upon promoting and propagating the great heritage of India and our cultural, treasure of India, especially classical music. And I'm so proud of the Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth, and I'm also very happy to be one of the, to take, one of the, what should I say, one of the people working for classical music, joining hands in this institution.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, after I accepting this program, actually many questions came to my mind. Sir, my first question is about your music lineage. We know you and Mysore Nagaraj sir, and of course your father and great guru, Sri Mahadeva sir. Sorry, my guru also. He taught me also. So, what about your grandparents, and were they also musicians?
Yes, my grandfather was a harmony player, and he was very much inclined towards classical music also. He was the one who initially supported and encouraged my father to learn classical music. Yes, and I think my father was so much inspired because of the musical environment that existed in his house through my grandfather. And he lived in a remote place called Mudigunda, a small village about 70 kilometers from Mysore city. And my
It's
father
a Karnataka Tamil Nadu border, right, sir?
Yes, and quite interestingly, before independence, it belonged to Tamil Nadu, and later on after the independence, it was really a structure and uh, was figured in Karnataka map, and then today, my uncle and his family, they all live in Mudigundam, such a beautiful place, and that is where my father was also born, and that is about my grandfather.
Okay, sir. Sir, next I would like to ask this question, which many music students often think about. It's about the practice. How did you practice as a student, and how has your method of practicing changed during your later years after becoming your professional violinist?
You are also a very well-known and seasoned violinist. You know very well about the difficulties of practicing violin, learning violin, because violin is considered one of the toughest instruments. And at the same time, Indian classical music, especially Carnatic classical music, is also regarded as one of the highly sophisticated and very complex style of music in the modern, the contemporary world today. Both these things coming together make a violinist role much more difficult. And I'm pretty sure many of the viewers who are also, joining online would know more about my father, because my father was regarded as a modern day Jamadagni, because
Yes.
you know it very much, right? He was a very hardcore, hardcore classical music jihadi, and a hard taskmaster who would never allow myself and the Nagaraj, my brother, to go out and then play at all. And then we never went to, he never sent us to a movie theater. And until now, I even don't know how a movie theater looks like from inside, right? And then, from the time we get up in the morning, the time we go back to the bed, the whole time it was music. And
Yes, yes.
and recently, very interestingly, one of the leading newspapers in Karnataka state also carried one very interesting article about my father, because it's a true story. The moment my father comes to know that my score, the marks card thing, when I was studying in my school, the moment my score went all the way up to 80, 85, immediately my father used to get furious, because he thought that I'm not showing much interest to music. So he would call me and then warn me, Manju, look, your marks is going dangerously high. So make sure you don't get, you concentrate more on violin, and then you never score more than 80% marks. That is the way he used to, give much importance to classical music. Fortunately, he made both myself and the Nagana understand and realize the importance of classical music. He must have broken more than 25 violin bows hitting both of us. And we used to, I was so much afraid of him. And many times I used to, on the lighter way, I used to make statements like, the reason why I can play all the gamakas so well in violin, and all these gamakas, it is so natural. Even if I think of my father, naturally my body would shake like this, and then gamaka would automatically come. And that is the way he used to teach us every day, only music, nothing but music. Honestly, many times I even used to, cry. What is this? God, why did you give me such a heart, cold, heart as master as my father, who would never allow me to go out to play with my friends and this and that. Until one day when I realized the importance of every single sacrifice he did for us. And then today, by God's grace, everything, it's been so fantastic. I think of my father every single moment.
And I heard you have practiced 8 to 10 hours during your childhood. How was that? How was that?
Yes, absolutely true. And then if I didn't practice that many hours in a day, there was no lunch served for me, no dinner, no nothing, because I had to finish my quota of practicing. The same case with Nagana also. And my father would always be around there, just monitoring everything, and then he himself, and of course very well about it. He himself had devised hundreds and thousands of different violin techniques, and we had to practice all those techniques, and then raga, thana, pallavi, raga elaboration techniques, and nerval thing, and this, and then so many wonderful, specifically designed for violin techniques. Entire day and learn so many compositions, and it was a very, very normal, usual daily routine for us. And then we had to do that. And then today, looking back at such a wonderful time, I'm so happy that I did that, and I'm experiencing the fruits, of all the sacrifices I had to do.
Sir, what I feel, today we have extremely talented students around us. But at the same time, it's very rare to find students who perform outstandingly. Why does it happen? And what can we do to encourage students to become an outstanding performer? I think Chinmaya Vishwavidyapith, its curriculum is like a Gurukulam system. That's what Prabhavdiji told me. So what's your opinion?
Absolutely. I am also aware of the qualitative education that has been offered at the Vishwavidyapeeth, because I'm also a part of it. And as you rightly mentioned, there is so much of difference between just learning a violin to play, or excellent. It is not only specific to violin. It is common to every single subject anybody wants to pursue, because the word excellence, as you rightly mentioned, is something which is so important in everybody's life, whatever profession you choose, whether it is medical or engineering or art, performing art or business or whatever, until and unless you give 100% of yourself, total dedication, so much of sacrifice, it's very difficult to expect anyone to excel. And luckily for myself and the Nagana, we had no other option, because we had to listen to my father even at the time when I was just 7 years, 6 years, and 8 years, practicing so hard, so all the time, and then so on. Excellence is the thing which my father made me always concentrating upon. He would always give me so much of assignment all the time. And it is not only paying anything, like, just the thing is, if somebody is only satisfied with learning only composition and then playing the composition and just, producing some sound out of a beautiful instrument called violin, it is absolutely no sense to me, because, the moment if you choose an instrument, then it is your responsibility to go much deeper into that. You just go dive into the deep ocean of music, and there are millions of things to be learned. As all wise people always would say, one lifetime is not enough for any musician. I'm just, so everybody knows about it. And the more you go much deeper into that, the more you start enjoying the wonderful, the beauty of music. In my case, I'm so fortunate that the environment, the family circumstances, which brought me up, provided me the wonderful environment, so that the growth was more natural and structural and more stronger. That is why I was able to concentrate much higher on that one. And it was my father who introduced all wonderful violin techniques, and who also exposed me to different music styles, which is also very crucial for growth of any musician.
Music. Okay, sir. So we know that violin is an international instrument with a lot of possibilities. So my question is, the current curriculum for violin, especially in Indian music, sufficient to master all these techniques?
No, unfortunately not, because violin, this is a very tricky question, because whatever traditionally available fundamental practice sessions, lessons, whatever you want, that are quite sufficient enough to give you a reasonably okay musical triumph as far as violin is concerned. Violin, which is originally, whatever people might say, but violin in this shape is from Europe, and now the violin is an international instrument, and there are millions of different violin playing techniques available in the world of music today. And it is extremely important and crucial for a violinist to look at the instrument from this perspective, and try to acquire much knowledge by attempting to incorporate as much as you can from different genre of music. And luckily, this is precisely what my father always advised us and then taught us. So that is the reason why, my father himself devised more than 1,000 specifically violin related basic lessons. Whatever,
Yes, yes.
the Genti verse, Sarle verse, which everybody learns and every instrumentalist also learns, that's fine. But violin is totally different from veena. Violin is totally different from vocal. Violin has its own characteristic feature. It has got its own technical beauty and then wonderful tonal quality, and then which is so unique from rest of the musical instruments. So it is totally wise to treat violin playing thing as a totally different thing alone. So just like you have ENT department, eye department, ophthalmology, orthopedic, and then you don't go to just one single doctor for all the treatment. So just like violin is also must be treated as a totally individual instrument altogether, and then whatever thing that is available in terms of violin playing thing, whether it is Eastern or Western or European or jazz or Chinese playing or whatever you want to say, it is much more, it will give you ultimate energy, ultimate strength if you master so much of violin playing.
Yes. Still, I remember you and Nagaresh sir insisted me during in Mysore days. We should play the Varnams in 3 octaves and all.
Absolutely. Not only 3 octave, you also probably, you also would play violin in different fingering techniques with this finger, these two fingers, Then so
Yes,
many
yes,
wonderful things, only then you can have, you can really master the instrument.
yes, yes. Sir, what always amazes me about your style is that you manage to play even the most complex and rare ragas so elaborately and so easily. How do you manage to do that, sir?
I don't know how to answer this question. By God's grace, and it comes naturally. And only I can say that I'm really privileged. One thing, the Carnatic music, especially Indian classical music, is undoubtedly one of the richest systems of music in the world today, right? The amazing scope Indian classical music offers for improvisation is something which is so unique in the world music scenario. And probably this is one of the reasons why Indian classical music is so well respected all across the globe. And when you have so much of scope and so much of possibilities given for creativity, then it is up to you to think widely, think more, at the international level, and ultimately, we need to do even little bit of justice to the amazing instrument which we are handling. And this is precisely what my father would always use to advise us. And ultimately, the human emotion, the bhava, not only of a raga, the different melodic structures, the contrast between melodic phrases, the texture of a melody. So many wonderful things, millions of things you need to think about when you take your violin and then start playing. And fortunately, I'm blessed to be, blessed to be trying in such a manner that I know the greatness of every single raga. And I genuinely, with all the humbleness, I genuinely would try my level best to do even a little bit of justice to the great, amazing raga. And at the end of the day, who am I in front of the divinity of millions of ragas of Indian classical?
Thank you, sir. Sir, you have collaborated with many great musicians in different genres, right? So can you share a few memorable experience with them?
Oh, yes. That was another wonderful chapter in my musical career. Being able to spend qualitative time with some of the topmost musicians across the globe, whether it is European classical or jazz musicians or even pop musicians or, Palestinian musicians or Chinese, whatever it is. And it gives an opportunity for any creative musician to 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 have a musical communication, a musical conversation. Ultimately, whether you belong to Indian music or European music or Japanese music, whatever it is, ultimately, we are talking about one of the finest, one of the finest languages that mankind has ever evolved, which is music. Ultimately, music is an international language. And I personally think, music is probably one of the best things that has happened to mankind. When such a wonderful uh, tool is being given to you, you will have much more happiness conversing with some of the amazing musicians across the globe. And I always have had a wonderful time, composing music and performing music or setting a musical orchestra or playing many albums, video recordings, and these with so many wonderful music friends of mine from across the world, from predominantly from Europe. And that has not only given me a wonderful memories, but also, I must say, has definitely enriched my musical, uh, what should I say, my musical perception also. I'm so much benefited about it.
Sir, you have performed in your Oxford University also, right, sir?
Yes.
How was that experience, sir?
Oh, that was one of the most memorable moments, because Oxford is one of the topmost institutions and one of the topmost universities. I was so it was my great privilege representing Indian classical, especially Carnatic classical violin music, as being the first ever musicians to be invited by Oxford University. And there was also an academic session before our concert. And it was an amazing experience. Always, talking about Indian classical music, taking the glory of Indian classical music to the real West, and then telling them with the demonstration, look, these are some of the wonderful musical things that are happening in Indian classical music. And I personally feel, it is my moral responsibility also to spread the glory of Indian classical music. And yes, Oxford University concert was one of my most memorable musical time.
Sir, was that Carnatic or fusion or something like that?
Carnatic music, Carnatic, typical Carnatic classical music, and then wherein in all our concerts across the globe, we always make it a typical Carnatic classical music concert wherein we take wonderful ragas, our ragas like Bhairavi, Todi, Shankarabharana, or Hindola, whatever it is, and then explain to them about the creativity, the improvisation that takes place. The moment when they come to know that you are not keeping any musical notation before you, and then you start improvising ragas, hours together, and they know naturally the 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 depth of Indian classical.
Sir, you have composed a lot of, I know, very beautiful compositions and bhajans. Especially, I loved that Haricharan bhajan and Misramat, and other compositions without lyrics also you composed. So, do you have any plan to publish a book with all of your works?
Yes, right now I have not done it, and of course, as you mentioned, many of my music admirers have been asking me to write, a book, to publish a book. And the music ultimately gives you so much of, what should I say, canvas, a wonderful divine canvas to express yourself. And I personally think it is not necessary to have a lyric all the time. Music itself, because pure music, when we talk about pure music, it is more about the raga, the notation, the notes, because ultimately it is the music that which is more international. So
Okay.
a musical composition that can express your emotions and your perception about the world and whatever things you always wanted to share with people. And I always love that whole the mechanism of compositions and composing. And I always loved composing it and then making it played or sung by eminent musicians.
Okay, sir. Sir, next question: how do you mentally or physically prepare yourself before a concert? The reason behind asking this question, once I remember, after one of your concert in Chennai, it was an excellent concert, and after the concert, we came back to the hotel, and instead of taking rest, we went to the Marina Beach. I think you remember that. So my question:
Oh,
do you usually go for walk to relax yourself after the concert?
absolutely, absolutely. And ultimately, there is nothing which is bigger than nature. Every single artist ultimately draws inspiration from the nature. The moment you go to a beach or stand before beautiful, humongous mountains or any forest or whatever, ultimately you know how small you are, and the the creativity inside you always compels you to think musically, so that you can try in your own way to express the beauty that is in front of you. And ultimately the nature, the beach, the rivers and forest, everything, whatever thing you want to call, um, anything which is so natural is ultimately something which always pleases you, which always inspires you. And as a musician, I'm not a machine, right? Just to learn a composition and just like a mission, you always play da, 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 da. No, we need to grow as an artist all the time, and we need to have all sorts of emotions inside you. If you don't know how to cry, how can your music make people cry, right? So you have to respond to the society, and just look at the way the society is suffering right now. The pandemic, everywhere you have so much of negativity. People are dying, people are crying every day, so much of suffering every time. If 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 you don't find not even a single drop of tear rolling down on your cheeks, then how can you expect your music to also be rich with the emotion? we
That's
we
true.
should know, we should respond to the society, we should know, and we should get inspiration from the nature. We should also, by music, ultimately I personally think I should also be able to reflect the agony that all our people, my friends, my people, they are suffering, right? So this is how I personally think any person, especially a musician, any artist probably is you cannot call him a complete musician
Yes.
unless he is not attached to the nature or the society.
Sir, apart from Carnatic music, what other genres of music do you listen to?
And I, in my childhood days and then teenagehood days, I had no other option. My father would always want me to listen to only classical, Carnatic classical. Even Hindustani music, I was not exposed early. And only later, when my father thought I was, my knowledge of music has come to a certain level, and then I'm fit enough to get exposed to different genre of music, then he said, yes, you should listen to Hindustani. And then today, I listen to every single wonderful music genres that we know, and predominantly, uh, Hindustani music and easy listening instrumental Western classical music, and I try to get inspiration from every single corner of musical composition or every single music thing which I listen to.
Sir, do you adopt fingering or bowing techniques from Western violinists also? For example, Itzhak Perlman, Paganini's Capricci, like that. You adopt the fingering techniques?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is why I told you, about the importance of while looking at violin teaching thing, violin learning thing as a violin thing. It is not. You don't you don't bring something different, like the already existing uh, fundamental violin learning playing thing, and you also learn violin from that window. You need totally different devices all the time, because you have to have totally different uh, uh, musical perception altogether in order to look at violin as a totally different instrument. Yes, and then we have incorporated many Western classical music, Western violin fingering styles. And the thing is, as my father would always tell both myself and the Naganna, it is our responsibility to make all of them sound like Indian classical music ultimately. You don't, you don't bring totally different violin playing technique from elsewhere and then play just to showcase that technique altogether. No, when you are playing Indian classical music, it has to be totally Indian classical music. The whatever playing technique that is been adapted here should always felicitate a wonderful presentation of Indian classical music with all the Indian thought.
Okay, sir. Sir, in your opinion, how should an ideal accompanist be, and how should an ideal soloist be? And one more question: what is the status of violin as a solo instrument?
It's a very tricky question, we have been uh, constantly been following all the developments that has been happening in this direction. Let me talk about violin as a solo instrument first, because violin as a solo instrument is, we all know that violin has risen, you know, uh, uh, to the status of solo instrument in Indian classical music, in Carnatic classical music today. And violin is being regarded as one of the topmost solo instrument, not only in Indian classical, Carnatic music, but also in Hindustani classical. Violin is one instrument that has no limitations at all, whether slow phrases or speed or staccato or different octaves or what anything, any musical thing you can imagine, violin is capable of producing all of them. And ultimately, if if you find a music that is not up to the mark, then it is not the mistake of the instrument. It is the mistake of the violin player. So violin is an international instrument. I'm so happy that even in Indian classical music, violin is being so hugely respected. And now coming to the violin as an accompanying instrument, and violin, we all know the history that violin replaced many other instruments as an accompanying instruments, and then became a solid, wonderful accompanying instrument in Carnatic classical music. anything that a vocal music could do, violin could also do, and also complement, also support it. And then that is the reason why violin was regarded as an accompanying instrument. And your question number three is the status of violin accompaniment, right? That's what you're
Yes, yes.
asking. Status of violin accompaniment in the present scenario, I don't know how to respond to this, because when great maestros who all contributed a lot and enriched to the violin accompanying thing in 60s and then 70s and 50s, right? They had so much of respect, right? It was like, you would always, it was just not just go and then play an underplay, okay, which is unfortunately what is happening right now, and the all great maestros, all the wonderful violin accompanies, received all the applause and then respect because of their excellence. We would always listen to Lal Kudi or M.S. Gopalakrishnan or M. Chandrasekharan in this manner, and then unfortunately, I don't know why the quality of violin accompaniment was expected to be coming down all of a sudden during late 90s and then early 2000, thing.
Okay.
And then unfortunately, the underplaying in violin accompaniment, which is also true in Mridangam also, I'm pretty sure, has started. The last violin accompanist plays, many, I'm not talking about all the main artists, many of them would be more than happy to have an underplaying violin accompanist. The person who doesn't know, who cannot play all the gamakas well, the person who doesn't know the wonderful violin techniques, he ultimately is regarded as the most sort of violin accompanist. And the more underplay you do, you are more sort of violin accompanist. So that if you and even a main artist sings a raga alapana for about 15 minutes. If the violin player plays just 2-3 minutes, and then the main artist is so happy, is satisfied. So these are unfortunate trend that has been happening now, and unfortunately, people, the genuine classical music lovers, are deprived of a total music concept, a wonderful musical experience because of that. So all these things have pained not only me, hundreds of musicians everywhere, and we don't know how to respond to this because we no longer play accompaniment. But unfortunately, these are some of the bad trends that has been happening, not only as far as violin accompaniment is concerned, even with the Mridangam also.
Okay. Sir, during this pandemic, there are no live concerts, sir. But at the same time, many artists are doing virtual concerts also. So how can artists overcome this frustrating situation?
We know it is a very tricky situation. Nobody had ever dreamt of this. And then no one has any clue how long it is going to take us. And so even, to probably you might be remembering, I was the one who probably played one of the first ever, one of the earliest Facebook Live concerts soon after the pandemic, last March. Because, we had to do so many benefit concerts series in order to support musicians and then people who are in great financial conditions. And later on, when we see the way it was going, we all got crazy. We were so, unhappy to see the thousands and millions of Facebook concerts happening every day without any quality. People would even do Facebook Live sitting in bathroom, from kitchen, from everywhere, from lights, from cycles, from everywhere. And there is no quality anybody can do. I myself have seen many people even singing Sarale verse, Janti verse. Look at this Facebook live concert. What is it? What will happen to the dignity of Carnatic when classical music, whether it is Carnatic or Hindustani music? No, there has to be some limit. And of course, it is a free thing, and anybody can do whatever they want. And ultimately, that's the problem also. The whatever thing you would do, nobody would listen to a Facebook concert thing for more than 5 minutes. Facebook is originally designed to scroll down, right? And then what about the quality? Then here, even MS Subbulakshmi is also saying, and some Tom, Dick, and Harry, anybody, she's also saying. Probably somebody who sits on a rooftop or on a moving car and then singing some Janti verse, probably might get more number of likes than MS Subbulakshmi has. This is such a crazy thing, and we are totally misled that we tend to think that more number of likes ultimately refer to the quality. No, it is absolutely wrong. Quality has nothing to do with these kinds of things. And so then in all topmost online platforms, we used to discourage this. And all, I'm also in touch with many topmost performing musicians of our country. We all decided we should be more restricted in doing this Facebook thing. And then now ultimately we know nothing you can compare with the thrill and joy of one-to-one live concert. Ultimately, Indian classical music is designed for it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, the live original concept scenario is going to come back very soon. We have to be a little more patient enough to, wait for that. I'm pretty sure it is going to come.
Yes, sir. Sir, you have been an artist for a number of years, and you might have noticed the changes in the industry in general. What is the change that you notice among the audience? Is there any change at all? Or is it the same?
You see, I used to hear about all classical music concerts that my father would listen in 1940s or 50s or 60s, or even 70s, and before I was born. And he would always tell me that the temple structure where people would sit, people would squat down on the floor. There is no AC theaters, no microphones, nothing. And still people would enjoy the classical music. The level of musical understanding, the level of musical appreciation was so strong there. And after the advent of the TV, movie, microphone, and now with the mobile phone, I don't know whether it is for good or bad. Now everyone is exposed to different things. Whatever thing that has been happening somewhere in Indonesia, we can watch live, sitting here in Mysore, in India. And it is up to us to select which is good for me, right? So that is where my samskara ultimately directs me to do that, right? So, and with the situation being like this now, today's audience are more exposed to different styles of music. They know what is really good also. Maybe, I don't know whether they have the, what should I say, discipline to sit down and then listen to 4 hours concert, 5 hours concert. Maybe not. But even if it is just for 2 hours or 2.5 hours or 1.5 hours, I'm pretty sure, even at least, a good section of our musical fraternity, they are very well aware of the quality. And that is where, that is how the growth of music must happen. And music ultimately thrives because of the qualitative audience. If you have one of the audience who would always request you to do only disco music all the time, then you will also be forced to sing only disco music. As long as the qualitative musical audience exists, our music will also be in favor.
Sir, this question for one Mr. Shyam. He's a regular viewer of Kala Samvada. His question is, how does students stay motivated to practice his music in these times of uncertainty and very little in-person appreciation of their art form?
Yes, it is a very tricky question and very, very important question at this juncture. And not only students, Mr. Shyam, and even performing musicians like us, now it is much easier for us to get demotivated during this pandemic thing. Not only for musicians, for everyone. Like you ask anyone, people have unfortunately have forgotten how to laugh, Shyam. Right? We don't know how to laugh because the moment you wake up in the morning, you hear nothing but only pain, suffering, and this and that, only negative thing. It is at most important to be inspired all the time. So, how are we going to do this? Yes, listen to some of the wonderful musical recordings of yesteryears by great maestros. You get motivated. Number two, you specifically allot a stipulated time, in your regular routine in a day for classical music. Just like at 9 o'clock you need to have the breakfast, or 1 o'clock you need to have lunch, or this that kind of scenario. Don't neglect music. Always keep a fixed time for music, and don't ultimately you try to get elevated to the status of enjoying your own music. If you become your own audience for your own music, then you will be happier one. And always be reminded that better time is going to come. It may be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, maybe after 2 months. I'm pretty sure because classical music has survived for more than 2,000 years. You can just imagine how many coronaviruses or how many plagues or how many Spanish flu kind of scenario might have happened, but still we survived. Ultimately, the music system is much
Yes,
bigger than any individual.
Sir, okay, sir. Thank you so much for answering all my questions, sir. We have few more questions from the HOS. So he will be asking next those.
My pleasure, Vinod. Thank you.
Hari Om, Dr. Mysore Manjunathji. Pranams.
Namaste, sir.
There are some questions from our audience. So we'll take a few questions. From Vellore Srinivasan, he has asked, what is the relevance of Lakshana Sangeet with reference to Lakshya Sangeet, especially when the elements of Bhakti and Bhavam in music have to have an edge over the intellectual aspects of classical music?
Absolutely. That is, that is one of the wonderful questions because Vellore Srinivasan himself is a musician, and and he's also a composer, and he's an academician also. And I'm happy that he posed this question. It's a very tricky question because we in Indian classical music tradition, there is a Laksha and there is a Lakshana, the music theory and music practice. The and according to me, according to most number of performing musicians, no matter whatever technical things, whatever the rules and regulations and this and that, and all those things, no matter whatever it directs you, or whatever your technical, achievements can be, if your music is not capable of producing a bhakti or emotion or bhava of a raga, your music can never be called complete. Ultimately, all these lakshanas are there to support the musical system. Ultimately, music practical thing is something which is the most important thing. We get the directions from lakshanas. One should. I'm pretty sure. I would like to say that one has to be aware of all the lakshanas and also have a wonderful brilliance of mind in order to know the importance of it, and then where you have to implement it. The moment the only technical thing comes in front, and the bhava and the peace and the inner joy of music gets backseat, then something which is totally wrong. And ultimately, as he rightly mentions, Indian classical music especially is something which is more divine, and it is not it is definitely not for the sake of entertainment. In the difference between Indian classical music and rest of the music, many systems of the music, is Indian classical music has also been elevated to the status of divinity and self-realization. If a music that you listen to, if a music that you practice, right, is insufficient to take you to that higher plane, then something wrong, and you have to be much more careful.
Great. I think you have answered uh, all the queries, and this is the very good, I think, the best note to conclude this conversation with you. So we offer our pranams and many, many thanks from Chinmay Vishwa Vidyapeeth, the School of Kala Yoga. You have been associated with us. You have designed the syllabus for us. You have performed in our Pune campus also in the Nadabindu Festival. So we look forward to your guidance, supports, and Ashirwads. Uh, uh, please keep blessing us and guiding us. Thank you so much for being part of this great session. And similarly, I would like to offer thanks to Avanishwaram S.R. Venuji for conducting this session very well. Thank you so much. Looking forward to association with Chinmay Vishwavidyapeeth and Venuji. We will conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.